saying it is where the government, is responsible for everything. But I think it's wrong. There's no welfare state anywhere any longer. Even back in those days when you still have the dominance of the Soviet system, the Marxist system, where perhaps wrongly there was that outlook or that belief that the government is responsible for everything. No, the government is responsible for critical aspects, of development, and Nigeria is still driving that, within the context of the reform of Mr. President. For instance, a professor of veterinary study came out about 2 or 3 days ago to tell us that to train a veterinary doctor for a period of 4 years, you need to spend 45 million naira. 45 million naira. That's the standard template payment. But in Nigeria university, especially federal government-owned university, the average, that you spend through those 4 years will be less than 4 million, more or less, for tuition and others. So now what that tells us is that education is seriously, overwhelmingly subsidized in Nigeria. And that is a pass mark for us. We have not always considered that. And the money to subsidize education must come from somewhere. Perhaps if we start understanding the fact that education being subsidized is actually a cost to government. And because it is a cost to government, there should be a consideration for how citizens will be responsible for payment of services in other side. As poor as our health services are, it's still accessing health services is still the cheapest possible, health platform anywhere in Africa. Especially in government-owned general hospitals, federal government-owned general hospitals, federal government tertiary hospitals, like teaching hospitals. And these are areas or segments of development. These are development catalysts that we need to concentrate on in terms of funding. So it should not be about consumables, like fuel, for instance, that we have made a traditional, long-standing, must be free item. So I think we need to educate or continue to enlighten Nigerians about the trade-off that we need to make going forward. The trade-off of paying for certain services, and of course the trade-off of enjoying the benefits of certain services. And that if we've experienced train service on the standard gauge over a period of time between Kaduna and Abuja, between Ibadan and Lagos. And those who had enjoyed the benefits of these services know that it is what they are paying for is worthy of it. The value is worthy of it. And I believe that when government is also able to provide this kind of service in an efficient manner, Nigerians will be appreciative of it, and of course will be willing to pay for it.
Indeed. The other thing, of course, is that, concentrating for the moment on, the corollary of all of these explorations that the president is making, which is that it's not charity, it's going to have to be paid for, but at least we're being provided with a template, with an opportunity to advance if we're willing to become disciplined on it. There's this whole matter about what is it that Nigeria is actually bringing to the table. Okay, we hear about, unfortunately, crude oil is our principal asset. That's a sovereign asset. But we don't add value to it. If we still have cocoa, I'm not too sure what the figures are there, we don't add value to it the way Ivory Coast is reported to be attempting to do in its own case. It has a lot of cocoa, and it is saying that, we can't be exporting this thing crude anymore for you to now be sending it right back to us, with up to 10 times the price. There's that aspect of the equation too. How do we get into the habit of also being able to export more than crude value, to be adding some level of finishing so that we can begin to have something at all. We have to have something. And that has been a problem for a long time. There was a time when it was said, General Yakubu Gowon, back in the day, that Nigeria's problem is not money, it's how to spend it. Well, those days are very, very long gone. Way long gone. Now we have to be thinking of what is it that we can be doing to be adding value. And here I'm a bit concerned. Maybe this gives you the opportunity to comment on the scenario that we all as Nigerians witnessed. We're talking about our own, privately owned refinery. Privately owned, put that in quotes because, government will take a stake in it and all of that. It hasn't been going very, very smoothly. If you listen to the conversation out there, it would appear that there are those who are against any such moves. Now, I'm saying all of this just from the point of view of we're going to have to bring something. We're grateful for the opportunity of China. I think we lost power. Okay, I understand that we're still live. Okay, sorry for that slight break, Mr. Akinsiju. So I was just sort of imagining the scenario of there's so many things that we have to, because what President Tinubu is doing is that maybe that's not quite the way to express it, but sort of giving us a kick in the pants that, we've got to wake up to reality. Nigerians, can do it. We have a reputation of being up and doing around the world, and this is going to be called on more than before because this administration wants a better deal for all Nigerians. But Nigerians can't continue to be on the backside and expect that things are going to change. So it's a matter of what do we bring, how do we get into this mindset of actually exporting value so that we can begin to, because we have to survive even as we're paying these debts that will come.
Yeah, I think the president is doing well because I always like to put things in historical perspective. One, if the appropriate policy had been deliberately conceived and deployed, we won't find ourselves in this kind of situation. And we have seen a number of administrations in the past, including the immediate past administration, that tried making value addition to our primary products, But I think because of institutional limitations, we couldn't achieve much. But I'm seeing more silver lining, in the cloud, as it were now. First, my concern really came from, or rather derived from this same foreign trade figures. Out of the possible 19 trillion plus value of exports, that was exported out of items and goods and services exported out of Nigeria, the non-oil sector was only responsible, just as I said earlier, for 3 trillion of that 19 trillion naira value. So it tells us that the volume, the larger volume of the export trade was in the crude oil sector. And it's just crude oil. It's not even secondary products, derived from crude oil. So it's the primary crude oil that were just pumped from the ground and then filled in vessels and taken out of the country. So we are disadvantaged, and we have always been disadvantaged by that because that was taken out of the country. It will return to us, in different forms of products, PMS, AGO, Jet A1, kerosene, and all that. And the people who took it out as a primary product will bring them back with multiple secondary products and earn more than they bought from us. So we are actually disadvantaged from the concepts already. So what we are supposed to use to balance that up would have been our non-oil sector products and services in a non-oil sector, cocoa, as you said, we are doing, I think the first quarter exports of cocoa figures that we have is about 300 billion naira. While Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, are making more than $10 billion from exports, from processed exports of cocoa. Yes, they also export their primary products, but they have also found a way, of processing those primary products to enhance value. So